welcome to Lake Murray Insider, the voices of Lake Murray. This is where we spotlight people and businesses that are making a difference in our community. Today, we're joined by local wildlife and nature photographer Paul Bittinger at Heron's Point Photography. If you've spent any time around Lake Murray, the Facebook channels or anything like that, you definitely have seen Paul in some of his incredible images of eagles, herons, sunsets, the natural beauty that makes this place so special. So before we get into Paul and his amazing work, let's get a quick 30-second intro from our team. I am Doug Giesler. I'm your host. I specialize in real estate on and around Lake Murray. I connect people with businesses so that we can all thrive in this amazing community. So Julia, tell us about you.
I'm Julia Thornton. I'm a realtor with Lake Homes Realty, and I'm on Doug's team. I'm a mom, and I have two children.
Awesome. Tammy?
My name is Tammy Moen. I also have been on Doug's team for 6 years now, and I live on Lake Murray myself, so it's really easy to talk about Lake Murray when you live Lake Murray. And I also am a mom of two children. That's it.
And Michelle, I think you're muted, so
I'm
unmute.
muted.
Come on in.
I'm Michelle Rogers. I am with Assurance Financial. I'm a lender. I am also on Doug's team, just in a different capacity. I also live on and love Lake Murray, so I'm just excited to be here today.
I think we all universally love Lake Murray. So let's give Paul the spotlight. And Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself, your photography, and why you love Lake Murray.
Sure. Well, unlike everybody else, I work for no one. I am very happily retired here on Lake Murray after almost 35-year career in global corporate business, and lived overseas and traveled all over the world. I lived in Asia for almost 15 years, lived in Europe for 3 years, and traveled, like I said earlier, all over the world during my career with P&G. So everything in your pantry, about half of all that stuff we made. And so after retirement, I ended up sort of in the position of, where in this world do I want to settle down? At the time, I was in New York, which I think was the 10th or 15th place that I had lived in my post-school adult life. And for years, I had, especially when we came back from Asia, I'd gotten interested in potentially living on a lake somewhere in the country. And so I don't even know if it still exists. Back then, there was a real estate site called Lake House, I think was the name of it. But it was just a consolidation site of, like, you had a map and you could pick out a lake anywhere, and it would just give you all the real estate listings on that site. So I looked at that for years and years. So when I finally retired, I ended up, in my case, actually picking a lake at home. I was raised over in Irmo, which is on the north side of Lake Murray, and left when I was in high school and came back when I was retired some 45 years later. And so, like a number of you, I actually live on the lake, on actually a small island on the lake with 8 total houses, and just moved here because it felt like home, but also just the water. And after a few years of retirement, like a lot of people who have fairly busy and in some cases intense careers, didn't really have a lot of hobbies, didn't really have a lot of things to go out and pursue. And so ended up over a couple years after retirement, really discovering that I really enjoyed photography. And what I found that passion in is not just the actual the process of photography and the process of processing pictures, etc., but a real passion and a real love for the wildlife here on Lake Murray. And Lake Murray, I think, is probably no more as a pontoon boat lake. I think we sell the second highest number of pontoons of any lake in the country, or a fishing lake, or a speedboat lake, but all sorts of human recreation activities, which certainly exist. And where I live, between South Shore Marina and Dreher Island, I get lots of opportunity to see people speeding up and down the lake, and tubing and skiing and just having a great time. But what I found, maybe not really the hidden Lake Murray, but maybe the unseen Lake Murray for a lot of people, is really the wildlife that lives on this estuary, which is one of the great wildlife estuaries in the Southeast. And so as I started getting into photography, I also discovered sort of my natural interest was the wildlife that lives on the lake. And maybe even more the wildlife that's maybe not quite so obvious as you're speeding by on a boat. Getting out into the smaller coves, getting out into the less traveled sections of the lake, and learning about the wildlife there, and then learning to use photography and develop the skills to try to really tell their story, in both a beautiful but also an informative way. And that, you mentioned Lake Murray's Facebook site, and numerous other Facebook sites around here, really found that as a great outlet for sharing what I was seeing out on the lake. And have even gotten to the point now where I'd say 75% of my photography is actually taken while I'm on Lake Murray. And I'll stop there. Everybody's nodding very nicely, but
Yeah, that's
I'll talk for an hour and a half if I don't just force myself to quit. So.
Oh my gosh, no! I mean, I see your pictures all the time on Facebook. They're incredible. From the sunsets, the sunrises, the bald eagles, which they're so plentiful on Lake Murray. Tell us a little bit more about like the ones, like your favorites. Like, what are your favorite
Yeah.
things to photograph?
Oh, absolutely. I think probably my favorite thing to photograph are the great white egrets, and for two reasons. One is they are the single most difficult wildlife to photograph on the lake. I used to say an egret in the sunlight is like trying to take a photograph of a flashing light bulb, or a flashing, the flash on a camera. The sun just bounces off of them. So there's some technical difficulties, but when you get it right, they just create amazingly beautiful pictures. They can just become translucent. And like the herons, they're not super skittish, so you can get somewhat close to them. Also love the wood ducks, especially the male wood ducks, and just their colors. But unlike the larger birds, they are the most skittish things in the world. And any of you who spend any amount of time on the lake and looking at wood ducks recognize the females screech as she sees anything she doesn't like and takes off like a rocket. And the male's kind of okay. He flies off behind her. So I enjoy them just because they're such a challenge. Although I do have a couple wood duck boxes on my actual property. The eagles, of course, the ospreys. The eagles are really enjoyable to photograph. They are the calmest creatures on the lake by far. If you've ever spent much time watching bald eagles, they'll get a spot and they'll just hang out. And when they fly off, they just go from point A to point B. They don't look around or anything else. So they're very straightforward to kind of know where they're going to be and what they're going to be doing. I love seeing the deer when they come down to the water's edge, and especially as they wade or swim across the water. Beavers are not my favorites, maybe just because I'm biased against them trying to chew all my trees down. And then the cormorants, I know a lot of people really don't like the cormorants, and I know they are a destructive species, especially on their roosting islands. But they're interesting to see, and they're interesting to photograph. And my photography is called Heron's Point Photography. My my property is called Heron's Point. And of course, the great blue herons is where I started and where I end up every day because they're everywhere. And they can pose like a statue, or if any of you have seen my recent photographs, they don't do well in groups. They are quite the tusslers when they get in groups and are flapping all over each other and clanging beaks together. Although I've never seen them do any real harm, but they love to chase each other off. They're selfish fishers. How's that?
That's great. I have a question.
Absolutely.
Okay. I heard you mention a lot of the birds that you
Mm-hmm.
photograph as well as the deer.
Yep.
Can we touch on the infamous purple martin that all the people come and gather to watch in the evenings all summer
Yep.
long? Have you been able to capture some of them?
Absolutely. I've got some from last year, and amazingly enough, it's a great question. I was just there last night.
Okay.
This time of year is not my favorite for the purple martins, just because I'm kind of an early up, early to bed kind of guy. So this time of year, it's 9 o'clock before they're really starting to gather on the island. And in the morning's not bad, but you do have to do a little boating in the dark before and after to get them. But last night, we were photographing them, or I was, and the thing with the purple martins is it's not just sheer numbers; it's just the predictability of it's just like clockwork. They come in right at 5-10 minutes after sundown, and for the next 20 minutes they're going to be coming in groups of 100, 200, and then just as and you can tell my interest is photography. Just as the light gets terrible and it becomes very difficult to photograph, then they all gather together and start flying around, and everybody's on their boats and pointing how amazing it is. And I'm sitting there with the camera going, my camera can't see any of this. So, but I was doing it last night, and if you get a good sundown and you get a good orange sky or something in the distance, then you can get them in groups. So stay tuned on Sunday, and you'll see some updated pictures of the purple martins. I frankly kind of like them in their little egg-shaped houses. I don't know how to describe the shape of the houses people put out for them. They seem just a lot more active and a lot more predictable there as opposed to Bomb Island. But for anybody interested in going out and anybody watching this interested in seeing it, it's an amazing sight to see them come out. And last night, there were only about a half a dozen boats out there. Now, later in the summer, there'll be a lot more as the sun sets a little earlier in the evening. But it's an amazing sight. So if you've never seen it, you need to see it a couple times at least.
It seems like they're a little bit earlier this year. Is that not true?
Honestly, I don't know. I think it's about normal. I actually normally see them by mid-June, which it is now. In their houses, in the little nest boxes that people put up. And I haven't seen any really starting to nest yet. So while they're gathering on Bomb Island and they're starting to roost together, you're right. By July, they're everywhere. So if you take a walk anywhere along the lake shore, I assure you 3/4 of the dark birds you see, medium-sized birds are going to be purple martins. And all of those little egg-shaped nests that people put out will be just absolutely full of them as they're nesting and roosting on those.
That's great. Well, thank you for sharing. I love the purple martins. It's always a great thing that I usually try to take like guests that come into town.
Yep.
That's one of the things I try to take them to see.
It's absolutely worth seeing. It
is worth seeing,
especially when they all get on the island and then start flocking above the trees and everything.
Yes,
very cool.
To touch on that, when you have guests in town and they come to the lake, what do you take them to see? What are your big things?
Yeah, as a nature photographer, I'm gonna give a disappointing answer probably. Nacho Margarita is number one.
Yay!
everybody, I have, you mentioned your kids earlier. I have 2 grown daughters, 5 grandkids between the 2 of them. And that's always the highlight of the trip. We head over to the Buffalo Creek area, and we just love tying up the boat, going and having a nice lunch, and then taking our time to get back across the lake. It's not real far from where I'm at, but it's a nice boat trip. If people really are interested in the nature side of things, Dreher Island is always either by boat or by car. And I've had a lot of people who are starting to get into nature photography and starting to, find the joys and the expense of that hobby. And if you don't have a boat, I always recommend Dreher. It's a great place to go out and walk around. A lot of wildlife, a lot of accessibility to the actual lake shore. So a lot of great pictures are available out there. So we like to boat around Dreher. And then a couple people who take photographs with me, we always try to hit the river, the Little Saluda, at least 3-4 times every summer. And that's where you're going to see the greatest variety by far. The Little Saluda out by what's that Boy Scout camp out there? Camp
Barstow.
Oh, you guys should know. What?
Yeah, Camp Barstow.
Yeah, Camp Barstow. Right out there by Camp Barstow on the riverside. It's just, you're going to see every type of heron and storks and all sorts of amazing wildlife. They like it down in there because it's a little quieter, a little less traffic. So we always try to get out to the rivers several times a year. And, it's got the big bluff out there on the Little Saluda, which is really fun to just boat by and go out, and it's, something different to see. And then, of course, we always have to go out and see the dam, because it's seeing the dam from the boat is we've all at times in our lives have driven over dams or driven over causeways, whatever. But to be able to see it from, on a decent day, you can see it from 15 miles down the lake. And as you get closer and closer and closer, it's like the Rocky Mountains back in pioneer days. People gave up and settled Denver because they'd been traveling, seeing the mountains for months, and it seemed like they weren't making any progress. Sometimes in a pontoon, it can feel that way when you're trying to get up to the dam from out past Dreher. You can see it out there, but you keep going and going. But guests love it because you can see, you get right up to the dam. You can see the 4 or 5 towers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of the intakes for the water. And it's a very cool trip to go out there. And then my oldest daughter just loves looking at everybody's house. So we have to go by all the shores. So she can go, oh, I would do this, and I would do that, and I would do this. So
that's very fun.
She's
looking
very
at all
into
the variety
the
out
house
there, right?
thing, yeah. So I'm with the grandkids, I'm like, look at this eagle, and oh, look over there at this. That's an osprey getting a fish. She's like, yeah, but look at that house, that choice they made on the color. So
that's awesome. Well, those are
and everybody
awesome
loves the house on the Little Saluda with the big blue metal roof. So
yes.
So talk to us about because I love getting your perspectives on the different aspects of the lake. Take us through like maybe a season by season favorites of Paul Bittinger. So we kind of get spring, through winter.
Yeah, and I've even looked at a couple times, maybe doing like what's it like to just spend a day on the lake, and then what's it like to spend a year just in photographs.
Yeah.
So I published some pictures this morning of sunrise and sunset on the lake. And if you've never seen it, and for people who are interested in seeing the lake, it's just absolutely amazing. We don't have the tall mountains around the lake that you get with a lot of lakes in the south. So you're getting a really good sunrise and a sunset. It's not dipping down behind the mountain, 3/4 of the way through its path. So you really get it, coming down right on the water itself. And so somebody was asking me, how do you get these pictures? I was like, well, for sunrise, I walk over to my neighbor's lot and do the sunrise, and sunset, I walk out my front door and do it off of my lot. And it's just every night. And, the fall's the best. So I'll blend in a little bit of season as we go, because you just get the colors in the fall. The sun's starting to set a little earlier, and you get the Halloween colors, I call them, the oranges and the blacks. This time of year, the springtime, early summer, you get more of the blues and the pinks and the purples in the sky. So as a photographer, you're always keeping an eye on the clouds. Not that you want the sun to be behind the clouds. You want the clouds because it gives dimension. And that's where all the color comes from, and the beauty of the sunset. And just the reflection off the water, and you get it both mornings. And of course, the big challenge for me, early in the morning and then right before sunset every night, is to, as I'm taking those pictures, is waiting for something to fly by. So I could do boats because they're always going by. But the ones I published this morning, there's a heron flying right through the actual reflection of the sun setting on the water. Actually, this was a sunrise, the sun rising up on the water. So that's the beginning of my day, is to look out the window and see what the sky is going to look like for the sunrise. And if it's going to be a great sky, then I'm trying to convince myself to grab my camera and go walk 100 feet to take a picture of it, as opposed to just sit back down. Then in the early morning, it's just amazing. That's when all of the animals, the deer, will be all heading home. So within the first half hour after sunrise is when you want to go out and see all the deer, and they'll be swimming, they'll be wading through the water because they're wherever they were for the night. They're all getting back to their little hidden dens to spend the day. The predator birds, the raptors, they're hungry first thing in the morning, so they are out and fishing. So ospreys, you go by osprey nests and they'll be empty, and they're everywhere. They're in every single tree, looking at the water, diving down, and they're great fishers. I've seen eagles dive maybe 30 or 40 times, and I've seen them catch a fish maybe 30 or 40 times. I've seen ospreys dive for fish, and I've seen them catch a fish about a third of the time. So, but the ospreys are a lot more numerous. So seeing thousands of times, I've seen the osprey diving for fish as we go. So that's the morning. You go out and it's seasonal. So in the spring and summer, it's going to be everybody's hungry. They're all roosting. They're all laying eggs if they're birds. They're all pregnant. I've got a picture of a pregnant deer, and I got one nursing a little fawn. So this time of year, they're nursing, they're roosting, and everybody's really hungry and in a really bad mood. So you'll see a lot of interaction among the animals. So for the past several weeks, I've been doing, of all things, it's called a siege of herons, when you get a bunch of herons together. And I see why it's called that. That's, I guess the fish named it, because if you're a fish and there's 70 herons on the shoreline, you don't have much chance. And they catch a lot of fish and big fish. So that's all happening in the morning. Everybody's out, and the deer are going home. The raptors are out getting their fish. The herons are all gathering and eating. And of course, the fish are also spawning. So they're in the coves. That's why all the herons are gathering in the coves to fish. And they love bluegill for whatever reason. Must taste good. And so that's the morning. And then midday is for going to Nacho Margarita, or going out and doing tubing with the kids, or taking a jet ski out. As long as you're avoiding the pop-up storms, which you're going to get in the middle of the summer. But in the spring and fall, the weather's going to be beautiful. Midday, it's not going to be as hot. It's not going to be as humid. The pop-up storms are not going to come jump all over you. And for those of you who actually live on the lake, you'll know what I mean when I say that summer pop-up storm in the afternoon will bring more wind than the hurricanes do that actually hit us. I've lost more trees and had more damage from pop-up storms than any of the, I guess, 3 or 4 hurricanes that have, you know, given us wind during the last several years. So that's the afternoon. Go out, enjoy the water, enjoy the weather. Go out to one of the many restaurants on the lake. And I just do Nacho because I'm biased toward them. I used to do Buffalo Creek. It's Martin's Landing now. Haven't had the barbecue yet at the new barbecue place, but so we enjoy doing that. And then the evening is for just enjoying the views. The sun's not quite as harsh, and there's lots of boats and people going back and forth. There's not as much wildlife activity, but the views are beautiful, and it's a great time to sit out and enjoy the evening breezes. And then by a couple hours before sundown, the breezes have knocked off, and it's a great time to go out, and everybody's getting their final meal of the day. All the herons are up in their roosts in the nest this time of year, etc. So I talked a lot about spring and summer, but fall is probably my favorite time, and that's when we have the most variety of wildlife on the lake, because a lot of different species will vacation. I'm sorry, vacation. They'll stay over on the lake during the winter. So we get the gulls, and we get all sorts of egrets and snow egrets and blue herons and tricolor herons, stuff you don't normally see on the water, along with our good friends, the blue herons, etc. The ospreys have left, so they've had their chicks. The fathers will stay over for a month or two and teach the young birds how to fish. The mothers are done with it. They fly back to Ecuador and start enjoying their summer vacation, their summering for the winter. And then they'll all be gone. The eagles stay, the blue herons stay, the egrets are everywhere. The wood ducks are not as plentiful, although they're still out on the lake. But you start getting a little bit of the fog, which I absolutely love, the morning fog, and going out and taking pictures of that. And I actually got the South Carolina Wildlife Federation Award for a photograph of the fog with some fishermen kind of hidden in there. And then the winter, surprisingly enough, I find it to be just about my favorite time to go out and do photography, and my favorite time to live on the lake. And for those of you who live on the lake, you'll recognize the 2 reasons I think I'm going to give. The first reason is there's just not so much activity on the lake. So it's a little bit more of a nature focused lake during the, call it from early November to mid-March. So during that 6-month period, there's still people out, there's fishing and stuff, but it's not quite the sponsored races and stuff like that. It's also nice because the weather is very forgiving in the winter, and you can just sit out and just enjoy the water. You're not burning up, and you don't have to worry about a pop-up storm. And I find that the animal activity, especially the eagles, are very, very active in the winter. So almost all of my great eagle photos are winter shots. They have their chicks in the like January, late January. So their immature chicks are already gone. I mean, they kick them out of the nest, and they'll actually chase them off. But the pair will stay together, and I've seen a couple of them from different nests have hooked up already after 2-3 years. And so the winter is the time to go out and see the eagles. There's no osprey, but the herons are everywhere. The egrets are everywhere. And it's just a peaceful place. And you don't get that bad of weather, although I will say that I've had a couple of times now have gone out early in the morning to get sunrise, which is more reasonable in the winter because you don't have to get up at 5:30 to get out to get it. You can go out at 7:30 and get sunrise in the winter. But do watch it for the fog. I've a couple of times had beautiful fog from a photographer standpoint suddenly turn into a complete whiteout. And so you're out there and it's like you can't see even the end of your own boat. And So that's where your navigation system and your depth gauge are very important. So you can do an instrument landing, so you can get back to wherever it is you're trying to go. And I stay close to home for almost all my photography. I'm on a large cove, and Bob and I've talked, or Doug and I've talked this. And I mean, just anything you want to see is just right here in this cove. And that's the way it is across the whole lake. Go up by Dreher Island on either side of Dreher, and you're going to see eagles. You're going to see everything. Go from out toward Buffalo Creek. You're going to see everything out there. Keep going out toward the river. So it's maybe not quite as much out by the dam just because there's more development, but it's all out there. So you don't even need to be a big traveler on the lake, even though it's a huge lake. I can stay in my own little cove, not go 5 minutes in any direction, and get 1,000 photographs in a couple hours, no problem. Eagles and red-tailed hawks and beaver and deer, et cetera, et cetera. So those are the seasons and what a day looks like on the lake as a photographer.
Those are some awesome perspectives. Thanks for sharing that, Paul. I loved it. But I love the bald eagles. They're my favorite. I think we were coming back into my cove the other day. It was actually a couple weeks ago, and there was 3 bald eagles sitting on the same dang tree.
Yeah.
I was like, dang, man,
wow.
some people never see these bald eagles at all. I just saw 3 in one spot.
Well, where he lives, there's a very mature pair that I've now watched hatch 3 different groups, hatchling groups. I don't know what they're called.
Yeah,
for the last 3 years. And they really hang out there. There's a cove on up toward Dreher that they like even better to fish in. But yeah, they're there. And especially at sundown, they're going to be up there catching those last rays. They are absolute sunbathers. They are the ultimate sun worshiping birds. They love to sit in the sun.
Yeah, they're like little statues sitting in those trees. It's like they just don't move. It's like, darn, it's so cool.
Yep, they do, and of course you'll see herons everywhere. And I joke that the great blue heron must be our mascot on the lake, just because we have so many. And they're fun because they're not super skittish, and they're fun to watch, and they're magnificent. And for people who might be watching this in the future, who haven't seen a great blue heron out in the wild, they are huge, enormous. They are big birds. Easily their wingspan is over 4 feet. I mean, they're huge birds. They stand a meter tall, 3 feet tall. And their beaks, you see pictures of them. It doesn't really represent that their beak can easily be almost 1 foot long. And so when you see them capturing a giant fish, and you're like, there's no way, they're huge birds, and they're everywhere. They're year round. Their babies have been hatched now and are almost grown. I'll be publishing some pictures this weekend of a poor mother sitting there with 3 babies, kind of herons, all mobbing her at once, trying to get her to cough up the fish that she ate. And apparently in this case anyway, she was not having it. She was doing what I guess mothers of all species have learned over the years, and that's doing the classic turning her head up and away from all the screaming going on around her feet.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, Paul, tell our audience where they can find your work and how they can support the cause.
Sure. And again, maybe just to talk about my photography a little bit. I am a hobbyist photographer. I already said I'm retired. It's my retirement hobby. I'm not in it to sell pictures or to try to earn a living doing this. I've been very fortunate in my career. And so I'm enjoying my retirement. And so my photography really has taken on the aspect of not only my personal satisfaction and a way to provide that interest and that impetus to really enjoy each and every day because of something you really enjoy doing. But I've also really have enjoyed the idea of publicizing and helping people see what's out there that you don't always see if you're pulling somebody on a tube. You might not see the two eagles who are sitting there kind of hidden in the cove watching you go by. So right now, my work, I have a website, Heron's Point Photography. No caps, no spaces, just www.heronspointphotography.com. And my Instagram is Instagram /Herons Point. Again, no, not complicated, no apostrophes or anything, no spaces. So I publish on Facebook, I publish on Instagram, I publish on my website, and mostly it's just for people's enjoyment, and hopefully they enjoy seeing and get an appreciation for the natural beauty of Lake Murray the same way I do. And so being able to share that and do it through my lens and teach myself every day how to do that better and how to better communicate with light and composition and all the technical aspects of photography. Learning not to spend every penny I've ever earned in my entire working life on the new lens is something that is still find challenging, but it's something I'm slowly overcoming. And no, the truth is, I just bought every possible lens you can buy, so I've kind of run out of opportunity there. But so those are the places you can see it. I certainly will sell pictures. I sell calendars and stuff. But it's a little known aspect of it. I make like $2 per calendar after spending about 800 hours putting it together. So I think I joked with somebody one time, of every single thing I've ever sold in photography, I've almost paid for half of one of my memory cards for one of my cameras. So hopefully by the end of my photography career, that memory card is going to be fully paid for.
The payment is in joy, right?
It's in joy, and it's selfish too. I mean, when you find something you truly enjoy, when you find something that challenges you, and when you find something that, even if it's own small way, you feel is contributing, and I hopefully through the free sharing of all this Lake Murray wildlife and Lake Murray nature, it does contribute a little bit. And I do find a lot, my favorite comment that I get, and I get this a fair amount, but both through direct messages and certainly on comments and pictures I posted, is people who have either moved away or have kind of aged out of the lake and aren't able to spend as much time on the water as they did maybe 20 years ago, and maybe don't even live on the lake or in a retirement home or whatever it might be. Share a lot that, this gives them a chance to appreciate, what they used to be able to appreciate. And, just, and, not to brag, but, good photography of a place that where you live, that and that you feel, finding a way to really present that with well done photography can really just help people appreciate where they're at or where they used to be, and kind of maybe trigger some memories of what they were doing 10, 15, 20 years ago on the lake.
Well, that's very generous of you to put that out there for people to see, and I can tell you, I enjoy seeing it because I see it all the time on my Facebook feed and whatnot. And we've actually put a lot of your pictures into some of the videos that we've done. We did the Lake Murray Lake Life Anthem is already out, and people are loving that. We've got 3 or 4 more songs that are going to come out, and we're going to probably have some of your pictures on there, and obviously give you credit. Send people over to your website and whatnot.
Sure.
So we certainly appreciate you making those available to us and
Well,
for
I
sharing
love
your
doing
opinion.
it, and I hope even when you put this together, people aren't forced to look at me, but you can throw up some pictures, and if you think of any that might be a benefit, that people can actually look at what we're talking about instead of some old guy just sitting around talking about what he does. Actually, you know, without doubt, a couple of eagles yelling at each other is a lot more interesting than me sitting in my office talking about photography.
Yeah, absolutely. If there's anything in particular that you want me to share on the video so that they're not looking at us all the whole video, then yeah, absolutely shoot me some more. I think I have
I will
about
do it.
23 or 24 pictures so far that you've sent me, but
Yep.
if you've got some video that we can put up while we're talking and whatnot, that'd be great. But thank you so much for joining us. Let's take a minute and kind of go around the horn and give everybody an opportunity to tell us, what's their favorite thing about Lake Murray, and then we'll close up. We can go in clockwise order. Start with Tammy.
Okay. Well, one of my favorite things about Lake Murray is how social it is. And it can be as social as you want it to be. You can go to places like Paul likes, like nacho margaritas, and it can be hopping on a random Wednesday. Taco Tuesday is probably a pretty popular night to go there. But you can also do a little bit more, calm and subdued, and maybe go out to Big Man's and you just pop in and grab a burger and then head on out. And then there's lots of other restaurants that you can make a little bit more of a night of it also. But even more so than just the restaurants, they have boat races, they had just the other day wakeboard competition. They have fireworks at on or around the 4th of July that brings in a lot of people. And it's just interesting to see all of the registration state codes on our lake, because there are, I would say, at any given weekend, at least 5 or 6 different state codes that are on boats on our lake.
Oh yeah, like when they have the damn boat run and the poker runs, and good God, some of those boats are just amazing, right?
Yes,
Um,
yes. And they come, I mean, I've seen Florida, Georgia, North Carolina. Those are our neighboring states. But I mean, I've seen Alabama. I've seen people come from the Ozarks. People have trailered down from Michigan, Ohio, New York. And it's amazing how people will travel to spend time on our Lake Murray.
yeah, absolutely. Well, since I'm the next person on the clock, I guess I'll go and then we'll get to you, Michelle. So my favorite thing is, as you all know, I love fishing. And so bass fishing, getting out there and catching the stripers first thing in the morning. And those are my two favorites, but I know there's people that fish for catfish and all kinds of stuff. So, but my absolute favorite thing is, well, sightseeing too, but mostly fishing. So I'll leave it at that. Michelle?
My favorite thing is sort of a combination of your two, actually. It's the feeling like you're a little bit back in time, kind of like back to basics is really good, like family time, nature time, time to spend with your neighbors, doing something that is just completely not a screen or technical, just, getting out and kind of slowing down and enjoying life for sure. That would be my favorite thing.
I
Awesome.
love that.
Paul?
The views.
Yeah.
For me, you just cannot beat being able to every day be part of and be surrounded by just the water and the ever changing colors and the ever changing scene that unfolds just right out here all through the day. You just never know what's going to fly over or fly by or drive by or whatever, or what clouds are going to look like. It's just always beautiful to look out and just be a part of.
Awesome. Julia?
I love Lake Murray. I love taking my kids and my husband, and we love taking the dogs and just finding a peaceful place to go swim. We usually go to Dreher Island. It's so fun swimming and bringing the kids.
Nice. Well, I guess let's wrap this thing up, and we appreciate you, Paul, for coming on the show. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for another episode of Lake Murray Insider, the voices of Lake Murray. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to follow us, share the episode, and help us celebrate the people, places, stories, and experiences that make Lake Murray such a special place to call home. We have lots of events coming up on Lake Murray this summer, so be sure to get your boat prepped and ready, safety gear, life vests, and your favorite flotation device out and handy. Get out there and enjoy the lake. Our team at Lake Murray Insider is here to help you with whatever you might need to make that possible. So just give us a call there. Thanks, everybody, for your participation. We love Lake Murray. We'll say goodbye now.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you,
Bye,
Paul.
everyone. Thank you.
Hey everyone, thanks a lot for joining us today. Around here, we believe every person has a story worth telling. Every local business helps shape our community. Every sunrise, every sunset, and every day on Lake Murray adds another chapter. Our hope is simple: to help you discover more of the people, places, and moments that make this lake feel like home. If today's story meant something to you, we'd love for you to subscribe and share it with someone else who loves Lake Murray. And if there's a person, business, event, or story you'd like to see featured, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks for being a part of the Lake Murray Insider community. We'll see you on the lake.